Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. How about now? Can y'all hear me now? We good to go? How about now? All right, let's start from the top. John Talley here with Partzilla.com, and thanks for joining us for our 3 o'clock live Q&A session. I see the questions are starting to pour in, but before we jump into that, I want to go ahead and tell you that the contest has entered for our Warren Axon winch, along with the snatch block. And we will be announcing the winner next week. So please, please, please go check your email and see if you are indeed the winner. It's going to be drawn later this afternoon, and our director will notify the winner. So whoever won this, congratulations. All right, now that we've got our audio thing straightened out, our audio issues straightened out, let's scroll back up and answer a few questions. Junk Rider is asking me, I'm currently an auto mechanic and we have a program, Mitchell On Demand. Is there anything like this for power sports that I can purchase and find repair information for multiple makes? If you're referring to some type of code reader, no, there really isn't. All of the manufacturers have a proprietary system for whatever their make and model is. Do I wish everything would go ODB2 compliant? Yeah, I really do. But they all have their proprietary systems, so there's really not any one piece of equipment that you can go in and read codes. Now, if you are talking about printed materials, there's really no commonality in between all the manufacturers except for maybe the climber manuals, and they're not always super accurate, especially in their descriptors and their pictures. But my best advice, if you're really trying to zero in on a particular unit, you cannot beat the factory service manual for information. So I know it's kind of costly to start ordering those, but if you can buy one in the middle of the product range, it will give you a wide variance as far as the different years it can work on. Let's say if you're working on a CRF 450R, I would probably go for a 2015 manual, and that would at least get you in the ballpark for most of the tolerances and torques that are going to be required on the machine. Ken is asking me, hey guys, I need to replace the clutch on my 550 Grizzly. Okay. I'd like to go with something a lot better than factory before I use it on the farm to haul apples. Do you have anything in stock? Well, a couple of questions real quick, Ken. Which clutch are you talking about? Are we talking about the clutch sheave system where you've got the drive and the driven clutch and the belt that runs around it? Or are you talking about the actual centrifugal clutch that is down inside of the engine itself? I'm not aware if there's any aftermarket ones for the centrifugal part, but those things are really bulletproof. Now, if you're looking to upgrade the belt or in the sheave system, I know they make heavier counterweights for more power or more clamping potential and the different spring weights, as well as I know that Gates makes a really robust belt. I mean, the Yamaha OEM belt is good. The Gates is just a little bit better. If you're having trouble with it wearing out your clutch a little bit too soon, just make sure that you're down into the low range, because that's the big killer for these CVT systems, is when you're trying to put too much torque, using it at a slow speed, and it can't ride the belt up enough to get it out of that center section or that lower section of the sheave, and it's going to burn the belt and or groove the sheave itself. So, and if you need help going through and replacing yours, whether it be the CVT portion of the clutch or down into the centrifugal portion of it, we did that replacement on our Grizzly 700. Now, it's not exactly the same as the 550, but at least it will give you some guidance as to how to go through and evaluate and then replace the two different clutch systems. So, guys, if y'all would post that in the chat, and let's see if we can help Ken out a little bit. Kerm is asking me, are there any tune-up parts for a 2018 Suzuki Ozark 250? Well, of course, I mean, the basic stuff, we're going to have that. I mean, if you need a new oil filter, air filter, new spark plug, certainly that's easy to find. Now, if you were wanting to up the game of the Ozark a little bit, I would check into the K&N air filters, see if they have anything available for that particular model. Now, did they make a tune-up kit for it? Does Suzuki offer that? I don't think so, so you have to buy each of the parts individually. Robert is asking me, hi there, I have a 2017 Africa Twin manual. Just under my water pump there is a weeping hole, and I have a bit of coolant coming out when the engine is running. Is that normal? I would think no. Usually when that weep hole starts to leak, that means the seal on the inside is failing around the shaft itself, and it's letting you know because it's pushing it out through that little weep hole. So no, that's not normal. So you need to pull that apart and replace seals as necessary. Joshua was asking me, hey John, I was wondering how I could find out my elevation for jetting. I think there's actually an app you can download on your phone that'll show what elevation that you're physically at, and it'll determine that, of course, by your GPS location. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I bet you if you do a search in the apps bar or the search bar in the apps program, I'm sure it'll bring you into it. Yep. Yeah, that was evidently when my mic was not turned on. Low-end gamer is asking me, would a 125C dirt made street legal have enough power and speed? You're talking about doing like a super motard conversion on a 125? Sure, but if you're going to ride it on the street, you would definitely need to, of course, change the tires. You're going to have to add lights to it, turn signals, et cetera, to make it DOT legal. But the most important thing would be to change your gearing on it, because your typical motocross bike, it's going to top out 55, 60, maybe 65 miles an hour because it's designed to run on a track, and that's not where you want to keep it in the upper RPMs on a road. So you definitely need to go down on your rear sprocket several teeth, like 7 or 8 at least, to get it in the ballpark. All right, P is asking me, hello, can I replace my TPS sensor without replacing the throttle body? On most makes and models, yes, but you have to calibrate it back in if in fact they do let you do that. And I think I went through that particular process on our TRX 420. I think we did a TPS replacement on it. The biggest thing is to make sure its 0 point is actually 0 on the throttle body where it's connected itself, and you use just a voltometer to do that till you get it to 0 out. I can't remember if it's resistance or voltage that you're measuring. Pretty sure you can just do a resistance till it gets down to 0. Victor has asked me, a stuck power valve in an 01 RM250 can cause no throttle response at mid to high range, or just bad valves. Do you think it could be the muffler packing or just bad valves? I would lean more toward the valves at this point. Your muffler packing shouldn't really affect backfiring that much, if at all. So I would head toward the valves on that one. Come on. Logan F-150 is asking me, hey John, I have a 2003 Kawasaki KFX 400 and my clutch is slipping and I'm looking to upgrade it. What brands do you recommend? Without a doubt, some of the forged components from Wiseco, if they indeed carry one for your KFX, you want to take a peek at that. We actually did a full clutch install from Wiseco on the CRF 450R engine, and I can't wait to take it out for a spin, even out with my old broken, replaced knee. I'm still going to ride it anyway, even though I'm not supposed to. Just don't tell the owner of the company. He is also saying, I also hear kind of a knock feel sound of my 03 CBR 600RR. Are you saying you feel it in the crankshaft or part of the drivetrain? You have to give me a little bit more information on that. Kimberly is asking me, hello John, are aftermarket belts as good as OEM? It depends on the aftermarket. really the only one that I can truly recommend that I have personal experience with, and I've had good luck with, is the belts by Gates, Gates. I'm pretty sure we carry them online. Go to their website, go to ours, find out which one crosses over to whatever year, make, and model that you have, and give them a shot. Bilbo Swaggins, pretty cool name. 05 CRF 450R. I know a little bit about that particular bike. Will not go in new bearing. I did heat freeze and also Tusk crank puller. It bent the rods of the puller. It was under so much force. What should I do? Whew, I understand your pain. I went through the same thing on that motor back there, and I ended up having to use a plate with the Motion Pro puller to get that bearing in there, because I heated it up and I froze the crank. But the mistake I made is I didn't grease the outside of the bearing and the inside of the case before I put them together, and it caught. So I had to pull it in the hard way. Now that video, I know that our editor has been working tirelessly on it, and it should be live within a week or so, and you can see the battle that I went through pulling that one in. So wait and see, but we have done that exact model, engine and crank. He says, I also hear kind of a small, if you're hearing a knock sound, I'm not thinking it's going to be a TPS sensor, P. All right, Ashra is, hey John, what's your opinion on the Centromatic wheel balancers for a GL 1800? I picked up a used set because it was affordable. Not sure if it was a good idea. I don't have any experience with the Centromatic wheel balancers. My question is, why wouldn't you just have the wheel balanced? And any good tire shop should be able to do that. Now, I know not many dealerships are going to have wheel balancing machines, but I would hazard to guess if you could get a automotive place to balance it, that would be the way to go. Centromatic, never heard of them. I may do a little research and give you an opinion of what I think next time around next week. Low-end gamers ask me, how do you know if your carburetor jetting is spot on? Mainly by the response. So you want a linear response when you crack that throttle when it's going from the pilot up to your intermediate or your transitional jet to your wide open throttle. And the telltale sign when your wide open throttle jetting is correct is to do a plug test. So run it wide open, hold it there for a few seconds, and then do a cold cut, where you just cut the ignition and just coast to a stop. At that point, pull the plug on it, or plugs, and take a look at the base of the ceramic. You want that to be a light tan, tannish brown, and not so much black, but kind of a sooty area around the metal part of the threads that actually is next to the electrode. That's the best way I know. If you can rack that throttle and she pulls all the way through, it's going through its different transitions the way it's supposed to. That means you pretty much got it jetted correctly. Robert came back and says, thank you. In the Honda manual, it says it's normal for it to weep a bit. I don't think that is normal. I have ordered the pump from Partzilla and waiting it to come to the UK. I would have to agree with you. I mean, a little bit, a drop or two, but if it's just constantly dribbling out, no, that can't. I find that hard to believe that that's supposed to be normal. All right, and Oliver, you are welcome. Glad we could help you out to figure out that was your clutch switch on your GSXR 1000. All right. We have one from Reese's GT. I was having issues starting my 2011 KLX 110, so I decided to replace the carburetor, the air filter, battery, good grief, spark plug, and new fuel, but now it just won't turn over. The carburetor is getting fuel. The spark plug is getting spark. Is there anything else I forget to check? All right, now I'm curious, How do you know if it's getting spark if it won't turn over at all? I mean, it sounds to me like there's something systemic going on, and it's probably going to be the main fuse to it. I mean, it's a pretty simple diagram for that particular unit. As a matter of fact, I think we did a no-start scenario on a KLX 110, at least I think it was a 110. Good grief, that was back in our old studio, which was actually at the dealership. So guys, if you would drop that no-start video into the feed and let Reese's GT take a look at it, because I think there's just one main fuse if memory serves, although that's been about 3 or 4 years for me now, so I can't remember everything. All right, so what else we have here? Oliver's also asking me, I am almost fully on my rebound on my 2007 GSXR 750. Does this mean I need a fork oil change? That, or it sounds like you're losing fluid to me. Pull your caps with the front end elevated and see what your level is set at. I bet I would hazard to guess that we're starting to lose some fluid, so you want to check your main fork seals. And we did do a video that goes through the process of how to change out the seals and then refill them on our 1000, and that's going to be very close to what your 750 is going to require. So guys, if you would drop that video in the feed, and maybe we can help Oliver get his straightened out. But yeah, it sounds like you're losing fluid if you're almost on the end of your rebound. All right, low end's also asked me, I have a 125cc. When I go from idle to full throttle right away, it will bog and die unless I let the throttle off, and down the road and pin it, it will bog unless I stop and ease into the throttle. Okay, it sounds like it's trying to get either A, not enough fuel, or B, too much fuel. So go back, get to a starting point, look to see where your air-fuel mixture rate jet is set, and then also check your fuel level inside the carburetor itself. Because I wonder if it's at the very low end where the jets are picking it up and it's just not refilling it up to the correct level. So it sounds like you just need to go back to basics and make sure that you've got the carburetor tuned properly. I would probably start with the fuel level, because you're telling me that it's happening at the initial transition and also at the top end. That would head me more toward thinking the float bowl level is not set correctly. So start with that one and then hit the other two. But my bet's on the float level. Broke Life has asked me, if the ground wire from the battery gets pinched by the tank and it sparks, would that burn out the CDI or regulator rectifier? I'm a little concerned that the battery is sparking against the fuel tank. Are we sure that's a negative wire? Usually those don't spark. I mean, unless you do your initial connection to the battery and it's just sending the voltage through. But either way, wires should be, whether they be grounds or positive wires, should not be getting pinched. So it needs to be replaced or rerouted because something is wrong. But to answer your question, will that burn out the CDI or regulator rectifier? Sure it can, especially if it's expecting a certain amount of ground being present. I mean, those wires have a certain diameter for a reason, and if you're telling me that it's been pinched and it's missing some of its internal individual conductors, then yeah, I mean, because that would ramp up the amperage, ramp up the voltage, ramp up the current, because the voltage or the resistance is going down, if I still remember my engineering. So yeah, the amperage is going to go up. So sure, it could burn out your CDI or your regulator rectifier. All right, Bilbo was also asking me a 2012 KX450F, making it a motard legal. I have two questions, so I'll post them separately. Is the stock stator outputs only 60 watts? Would that be enough to run lighting? No aftermarket kits out. 60 watts is not much, and you're right about that. And I don't think you want to do a KDX conversion on it, even if that's even possible. But what will probably save you is to get away from the halogen and go with LED lighting. Just make sure you don't exceed that 60 watts, but you should be able to pull it off relatively easy. LEDs are really low consumption, and they should get you in the ballpark at least. All right, we've got the no start for the 110 posted and the GSXR 1000. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. All right, Broke Life 2005 R1 will start, but only when a jumper is connected. As soon as you remove it, it shuts off. Okay, you have to give me a little bit more. You're talking about you're jumping the solenoid and that starts it and then it shuts off? Give me some more information where this jumper is being connected. It sounds to me like you're probably jumping the start circuit and it's not getting, it's probably not, it's a start and then it still has to hold voltage. So I would imagine, I would check your fuses because you're trying to work around a system that's not wanting to play very nice. So check your fuses. Oh, okay, the KX450F want to install the Scorpion Maverick system to it. I'm not familiar with that particular one, but we'll read on. It requires a wire to be linked to a separate wire that goes live with the key on. I installed a key, but it doesn't activate anything. All right. If this is about your lighting system, what you're probably going to have to do is just put a, because the KX450 doesn't have an on-off switch. I mean, it just doesn't. You hop on it and kick it and go. So you will need to add a on-off switch just for the lights somewhere. I mean, it can be a toggle switch. Just make sure it's waterproof because it's going to get wet. I can't come up with one off the top of my head, but it sounds like that'd be the simplest thing. Just remember to turn it off when you stop riding for the day. Oh, Broke for Life said, but no, just jump starting it. Okay, then your battery is absolutely wasted then because, well, that may or may not true. I want to know your battery voltage because you're saying you can jump it off and then it dies. Typically, if you've got a completely flat battery, it's going to drag the voltage down so low where the machine doesn't have enough generating power, DC power, it'll just shut off. So my bet would be your battery is junk. So let's measure the battery and see what kind of voltage it has. Joshua is asking me, John, I have a 2004 Suzuki Quad Sport and it won't crank at all. The battery is good, the ignition coil is good. Would it be something with the starter solenoid or the fuses on top of it? And if you're telling me it won't turn over at all, well, there's a whole list of things that can be wrong with that. Always start simplest. You're telling me your battery's good. Check your main fuse coming off. It's usually off the starter solenoid, and see if it's blown or not. See if you've got voltage at the starter solenoid, and then maybe do a trigger onto the low voltage side of the starter solenoid to see if indeed you can get the starter to turn over. Now, if that is the case, chances are that it is somewhere else in your electrical system that's keeping it from starting. You know, maybe a safety switch, maybe a neutral switch. It could even be the run, stop, run switch up on the handlebars. I mean, all of those are going to keep it from starting up. But start with the simplest thing first. Go to make sure your solenoid or the primary fuse is good to go, and then work your way out from there. All right, Pedro's asking me, hey John, what's up? I got a Honda Recon 2006 and it runs great, but it only shifts up until gear 4. Fifth gear seems like neutral and it will not move or engage. Reverse works great. Other gears are smooth. All right, so you're telling me she doesn't want to go into top gear. I know that's got to be frustrating. It sounds like you potentially have a bent shift fork and or the gearing or the meshing when it's sliding it over to go into fifth is damaged. So more than likely you're going to have to go into this one. I assume this is a manual shift and not the push button shift. But it sounds like we've got an issue with the either A, the shift fork, or B, the actual gear that the shift fork is trying to shift over. So unfortunately, you're probably going to have to go into the bottom end on that one. All right, Logan's F-150 2003 KFX has a Duncan Racing's graphic kit, and I can match up a bunch of the parts with the stickers. Should I call them and see what the parts should I replace, or should I go with the OEM parts? I mean, if it's got the full graphics kit on it, give them a call, see if they can just replace what you need on it. Jason says to put speakers on it. Speakers fix everything, don't they, Jason? Just gotta have the boom. All right, Pedro is saying it is a push button shift. All right, I don't think there's going to be anything wrong with the push button motor itself or the shift motor, because you're telling me it goes reverse 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5's not there. So my bet's still going to be on the inside of that booger, unfortunately. So it looks like you're going to end up having to open it up. Is Israel real? I think so. You're welcome, Pedro. Not a problem. Tack is asking me, would old grip glue make hand grips rip easy, or did I get faulty grips? Well, the old grip glue. I mean, if it's breaking down and that causing them to rip, no. Just sounds like you wore out the grips, man. You might want to consider going with I don't know what you have on there, but maybe consider going to the something from Pro Taper. I know they've got some really nice grips depending on which make and model that you have. So maybe time just to cut those off, clean up those bars, and throw on a set of Pro Tapers. All right, guys. There goes 30 minutes again. Well, listen, we just want to say thank you for spending a little bit of time with us here, like doing the Q&A sessions. I'm going to call it a week and head to the barn, so to speak. But I will be back next Friday at 3 o'clock. And we just want to say thanks again for swinging by, spending a little time with us, and especially if you're customers of Partzilla. We truly appreciate that. It makes all of this possible. So everybody have a great weekend, a great week, and we will see you, God willing, next Friday at 3 o'clock. See ya.